She saw the red dot on his chest and whispered 2 words that saved his life. Don't move. What she didn't know was that the man in the corner seat was the Vampire King. And he hadn't forgotten the waitress who saw what no one else could. The laser dot showed up at 2:47 in the morning, moving across table 6 like a red spider. Sarah noticed it before her brain understood what it was. 3 years of training from her time in the army kicked in faster than thinking. The red dot landed on the chest of the man sitting in the corner, the one who had been holding black coffee for the past hour without drinking it once. Her serving tray hit the floor. The sound broke the quiet nighttime silence of Marlowe's restaurant. Ketchup bottles burst open across the floor. The old truck driver at the counter woke up suddenly, and Sarah was already moving. Her body remembered what her mind had tried to forget. She stepped right between the booth and the window. Don't talk, she whispered, leaning close enough to smell expensive cologne and something else, something cold. Don't move. The man's eyes met hers, gray, super calm, old in a way that made her stomach feel weird. He didn't ask questions, didn't panic, just watched her with the stillness of someone who'd seen this before. The bullet came through the window with a sound like the world breaking open. It missed Sarah's shoulder by inches, punching through the bottle shelf behind the booth. Glass and silver pieces sprayed across the red seat. The man didn't jump, didn't blink, just kept staring at her with those gray eyes while everyone around them screamed. Everybody down, Sarah's voice cut through the screaming. The truck driver dove behind the counter. The cook, old Dale, who'd given her this job when nobody else would, disappeared into the kitchen. Then the other customers moved. 4 of them were spread throughout the restaurant. They had seemed normal 30 seconds ago, a businessman reading his phone, a couple sharing French fries, a woman doing a crossword puzzle. Now they moved together like dancers, weapons appearing from jackets and purses, forming a protective circle around the booth. Around him, secure the area, the man said quietly, his voice carrying even with all the noise. Find the shooter. Leave witnesses alive. The businessman was already at the door, looking at the street. The couple split up, moving to the windows. None of them seemed surprised by the gunfire. None of them seemed human in the way they moved, too fast, too smooth, too sure. Sarah's hands were shaking. Her doctor said the shaking would stop eventually, that her fear was just her body remembering how to be afraid. Right now, her body was remembering other things, the weight of army gear, the smell of burning fuel, the way Martinez had looked at her in those last seconds before the bomb exploded, trusting her feelings. She'd been wrong that day, too slow. But tonight, you saved my life, the man said. Sarah looked down at him, really looked, designer suit, probably worth more than her car. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been 30 or 50 or anywhere in between. Pale skin that seemed to drink the bright light rather than reflect it. And those eyes watching her so carefully that she felt like a bug under a microscope. I saw the laser dot, she managed. Training kicked in. Training, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Military, medic, 82nd Airborne. I'm out now. Clearly not all the way out. He stood in one smooth motion, fixing his sleeves. What's your name? Sarah. Sarah Blake. She stepped back, giving him space, her mind trying to understand what just happened. Who are you? Someone who likes quick thinking. He pulled out a wallet, took out $300 bills, and placed them on the table for the damage. And your silence. I don't need your money. Yes, you do. His voice was gentle but firm. This restaurant is going to need repairs. Your manager will need an explanation, and you're going to need a reason to forget this happened. The businessman returned, leaning close to whisper something Sarah couldn't hear. The man nodded, then looked back at her. The shooter is gone. You're safe. Everyone here is safe. He paused at the edge of the booth. Thank you, Sarah Blake. Truly. He walked toward the exit, his people falling into formation around him, professional, military level. Sarah had seen security teams before, but this was different. These people moved like they were protecting a president or something worse. Wait, Sarah called out. He stopped, hand on the door, and looked back. She didn't know what made her look down at that moment, some feeling, some whisper of wrongness in the back of her mind. The chrome napkin holder sat on the counter, polished like a mirror. She could see herself in it, could see Dale peeking out from the kitchen, could see the truck driver slowly getting to his feet. She couldn't see the man in the suit. The door stood open in the reflection, but the space where he stood was empty, a hole in the shape of a person. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The man smiled, and this time it did reach his eyes, cold and knowing. Smart girl. Most people never notice. Then he was gone, the door swinging shut behind him. His security team vanished like smoke into the early morning darkness. Outside, a black car pulled away from the curb without headlights. Disappearing into the maze of sleeping streets, Sarah stood frozen. Staring at the chrome holder, at her own pale reflection. At the empty space where a man should have been. Jesus Christ, Sarah. Dale came out from the kitchen, flour dusting his apron. What the heck was that? I don't know. Her voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. I really don't know. But she did know. Somewhere deep in the part of her brain that kept her alive in the army, that made her notice the laser, that saw patterns in chaos, she knew the truck driver was already calling the police. Dale was looking at the damage, thinking about insurance and repairs. Normal people doing normal things after a strange night. Sarah picked up the $300 bills. They were real, heavy paper, crisp and new. She held them up to the light, looking for anything unusual. In the street outside, she saw something move, a figure on the rooftop across from the restaurant, barely visible against the night sky, watching, waiting. She stepped away from the window, heart pounding, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against every feeling, she answered. Sarah Blake, a woman's voice, businesslike and cold. Who is this? Someone who saw what you did tonight. Someone who's very interested in meeting you. A pause. Check your locker before you go home. And Sarah, be careful who you save. Some people aren't worth the bullet. The line went dead. Sarah stood in the ruins of Marlowe's restaurant, holding blood money from a man with no reflection, while somewhere in the darkness, people she couldn't see were deciding her fate. Her shift ended in 3 hours. She had a feeling she wouldn't make it that long. The game had already begun. The envelope was waiting in her locker when Sarah finished work at 6 o'clock in the morning. Plain brown envelope, no postage, no name, just tucked between her spare uniform and the photo of her old army unit, the one she kept meaning to take down but never did. Her hands were steady as she opened it. For years ago, they would have shaken. But after enough therapy and enough sleepless nights, she learned that fear was just information. The question was what you did with it. Inside were 3 photographs. The first showed her apartment building, second floor corner unit, fire escape visible. Someone had taken it from street level, probably yesterday morning based on the lighting. The second showed her walking to the veterans clinic on Thursday, her therapy day. She was holding the coffee from the shop next door, the one that knew her order by heart. The third was from tonight, the restaurant. The exact moment she'd stepped between the bullet and the man with no reflection. No note. No demands, just a message, we see you, Sarah. Dale appeared behind her, making her jump. You okay? You've been staring at your locker for 5 minutes. She closed the envelope, tucked it under her arm. Yeah, just tired after tonight. I bet. He rubbed his face, tiredness written in every line. Insurance people coming at 9 o'clock. Police took statements, said it looked like a drive-by shooting. Wrong place, wrong time. He laughed, bitter. This neighborhood. I keep telling myself it's getting better. Sarah thought about the security team, the smooth movements, the way they'd swept the area with military skill. Yeah, wrong place, wrong time. She left through the back exit, looking at the alley before stepping out. Empty, just dumpsters and graffiti and the gray promise of dawn. Her car was parked 2 blocks away. She learned not to park close, learned to keep escape routes open, learned that being careful kept you breathing. The walk felt endless. Every shadow held a shooter. Every parked car hid a threat. She made it to her Honda without anything happening, locked the doors, checked the back seat. Nothing. The drive home took 12 minutes. She counted every one. Her apartment was exactly as she'd left it, neat, empty, the kind of place that looked more like a waiting room than a home. She checked every room anyway, knife in hand. Closet, bathroom, kitchen, under the bed. Clear. She made coffee she wouldn't drink and sat at her kitchen table. Spreading out the photographs, whoever took these was a professional, good angles, high quality. They'd been watching her for at least a week. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. She stared at it for 3 rings before answering. What do you want? To talk. The same woman's voice from before. There's a coffee shop on 5th and Morrison. Sit outside. 30 minutes. And if I don't? Then we'll have a very different conversation, one you won't enjoy. A pause. 30 minutes, Sarah. Don't be late. Click. Sarah set the phone down carefully. She had 2 choices, run or meet. Running meant leaving everything, her job, her routine, the fragile stability she'd built after leaving the army. Meeting meant walking into another trap. But traps gave you information, and right now information was the only weapon she had. She changed into jeans and a jacket, slipped the knife into her boot. Then she drove to 5th and Morrison, parked 3 blocks away, and walked. The coffee shop was one of those hipster places with old wood and overpriced fancy coffees. At 6:45 in the morning, it was mostly empty except for early risers and people who couldn't sleep. Sarah bought black coffee and sat at an outdoor table where she could see the street. They arrived at exactly 7 o'clock in the morning, 2 of them, a woman in her 40s. Gray suit, government haircut, a younger man, athletic build. The kind of stillness that screamed military. They sat down without asking. Sarah Blake. The woman slid a badge across the table. Commander Elizabeth Frost. This is Agent Chen. We need to talk about last night. Sarah looked at the badge. It looked real, but she'd learned that real didn't mean trustworthy. I already talked to the police. The police think it was a drive-by shooting. We know better. Frost pulled out a tablet, turned it to face Sarah. Security video from the restaurant, the laser, Sarah stepping into the line of fire, the man with no reflection walking out unharmed. Who is he? Sarah asked quietly. His name is Lucien Vale, and he's not human. The words hung in the air like smoke. Agent Chen watched her carefully, probably looking for disbelief or panic. Sarah gave him neither. I saw the reflection, she said. Or the lack of one. Frost nodded, something like respect crossing her face. Then you're smarter than most. Lucien Vale is what we call a high vampire, over 300 years old, controls most of the East Coast through a network of businesses and political connections. He's also bound by something called the Accords, treaties that keep the supernatural world hidden from regular people. Why tell me this? Because you're already involved. Frost swiped to another image, the restaurant, but from weeks ago, Sarah serving coffee to different customers. Vale has been coming to that restaurant for 6 months. Always sits in the same booth. Always orders coffee he never drinks. You know why? Sarah shook her head. The restaurant sits on neutral ground, a no-fighting zone where vampire politics are forbidden. He's been holding meetings there, using the treaty protections to meet with people he can't meet elsewhere. Frost leaned forward. Last night's shooting wasn't random. It was an assassination attempt, and you ruined it. I saved his life. You stopped a 3-month operation. Chen spoke for the first time, voice hard. We've been tracking Vale's movements, building a case. That shooting was supposed to draw him out, make him break the Accords. Instead, you made him look like a victim. Sarah's coffee had gone cold in her hands. So what do you want from me? Frost and Chen looked at each other. He's going to come back, Frost said. Men like Vale don't leave loose ends. He'll want to know why you helped him, maybe recruit you, maybe kill you. She paused. We want you to let him approach you, wear a wire, help us build a real case. And if I say no? Then you're on your own when his enemies come calling, because they saw you too. Sarah. And they won't be as patient as we are. Sarah looked down at her reflection in the cold coffee, still there, still human, still breakable. I need time to think. You have 24 hours. Frost stood, sliding a card across the table. After that, the offer expires, and you're in this alone. They left. Sarah sat in the morning sun, holding a business card and wondering how saving one life had put her own in danger. Her phone buzzed again, different number this time, a text message. The coffee looks terrible. You should try the place on 7th tonight at 10 o'clock. Come alone. LV. He'd been watching her right now, maybe for weeks. Sarah looked up, scanning the street, dozens of windows, hundreds of places to hide. She texted back, how do I know you won't kill me? The response came immediately, if I wanted you dead, you'd have died in that restaurant. See you at 10:00. Sarah pocketed her phone and stood. The sun was rising over the city, painting everything gold and red. She had 12 hours to decide which monster to trust. Sarah didn't go home. Home meant 4 walls and 1 exit and too many windows. Home meant sitting still while people who could see in the dark decided whether she was useful or throwaway. Instead, she drove to the one place that had ever felt safe, the gun range where veterans shot for free on Tuesdays. It was Wednesday, but Jim at the counter owed her a favor. She went through 2 boxes of bullets, focusing on breathing and trigger control, letting the rhythm quiet the noise in her head. Center of target, breathe, squeeze. The paper targets didn't have gray eyes or government badges. They didn't make promises they might not keep. They just fell when she hit them. By noon, her hands had stopped shaking. By 2, she'd made a decision, she would meet Lucien Vale tonight. But first, she needed insurance. The Veterans Clinic was quiet on Wednesday afternoons. Dr. Rashid saw her between appointments, worry on his face when she walked in without calling first. Sarah, is everything all right? I need to talk off the record. He closed his office door, pointed to the familiar couch where she'd spent 3 years talking about the army. What happened? She told him a version of the truth, the shooting at the restaurant, the mysterious customer, the people following her. She left out the part about vampires and government agencies. That would get her sent to the mental health doctor faster than she could blink. You're in danger, Dr. Rashid said when she finished. Have you called the police? They think it was random. They're wrong. Then call the FBI, witness protection. I can't. Sarah met his eyes. I need you to hold something for me. If anything happens, if I disappear or turn up dead, I need you to give it to the police. She handed him a sealed envelope. Inside were copies of the photographs, Commander Frost's business card, and a written account of everything that had happened. Not enough to prove anything, just enough to ask questions. Dr. Rashid held the envelope like it might explode. Sarah, what are you involved in? I'm not sure yet, but I need someone to know I didn't just vanish. she stood. Thank you for everything. Wait, but she was already gone. The place on 7th was called Nocturne, fancy, low lighting, the kind of restaurant where meals cost more than her weekly groceries. Sarah arrived at 9:45 wearing the nicest clothes she owned, black jeans, dark blouse, leather jacket with the knife still in her boot. Commander Frost's wire was taped between her shoulder blades. The host recognized her name immediately. Ms. Blake, Mr. Vale is expecting you. This way, please. He led her through the dining room to a private corner in the back. Lucien sat alone at a table for two, a glass of red wine untouched in front of him. He stood when she approached, old-fashioned manners in a modern suit. Sarah, thank you for coming. Like I had a choice. You always have choices. You chose to save me. You chose to come here. He pointed to the empty chair. Pleased she sat, every nerve on high alert. Up close, he was even more unsettling, beautiful in the way old marble statues were beautiful, cold and perfect and completely lifeless. No heartbeat visible in his throat, no breath when he spoke. You're wearing a wire, he said casually. Sarah's blood went cold. What? Between your shoulder blades, government issue. Probably FBI or one of their supernatural task forces. He sipped his wine for show, she realized, since the glass never actually touched his lips. I'm not offended. It shows you're smart enough to cover yourself. Are you going to kill me? If I wanted that, we wouldn't be having dinner. He set down his glass. Tell me about Kandahar, the question hit like a punch. How do you? I know everything about you, Sarah Blake. Army medic, 82nd Airborne, honorably left after a bomb incident that killed 4 members of your unit. You hesitated on a patrol route, second-guessed your lieutenant's orders. The group stopped. The bomb exploded 30 seconds later. His gray eyes held hers. You've spent 3 years wondering if you saved yourself through cowardice or gut feeling. Sarah's throat was tight. You had no right that I had every right. You got involved in my life. I needed to understand why. He leaned forward. Here's what I found. You have a feeling for danger that's almost like seeing the future. You see patterns others miss. In Kandahar, you felt something wrong. Last night, you saw the laser before anyone else. A pause. That's not training. That's a gift. It's trauma. Perhaps both. He signaled the waiter, who appeared instantly. The lady will have the salmon. I'll have nothing. When they were alone again, Lucien continued, the people who visited you this morning, Commander Frost and Agent Chen, they told you I'm a monster, that I break laws and hurt people. They're not entirely wrong. Why are you telling me this? Because I respect you enough to be honest. He folded his hands on the table. I am 347 years old. I've killed more people than you can imagine. I've built an empire on blood and fear and carefully made treaties. I am not a good man, Sarah. But I am a necessary one. Necessary for what? For keeping worse things than me under control. His expression darkened. Do you know why the Accords exist? Why we have neutral zones and treaties and rules? Frost said it keeps the supernatural world hidden. It keeps the supernatural world from destroying the human one. Without structure, without order, vampires would hunt openly. Werewolves would claim territory by killing. Witches would fight wars for power. He leaned back. I enforce those rules. Sometimes with talking, sometimes with violence, but I enforce them. And last night, someone tried to kill me on neutral ground. Not just to kill me, to make it look like I broke the Accords, to give my enemies a reason to move against me. His jaw tightened. The shooter wasn't human. He was sent by House Morrow, my oldest enemy. They wanted war. Sarah took this in. Frost said you've been holding meetings at the restaurant, using treaty protections. I was meeting with go-betweens, trying to prevent exactly the war Morrow wants. He met her eyes. You saved more than my life last night. You saved a fragile peace. Then why are Frost and Chen targeting me? Because they think I'm the bigger threat. They're wrong, but they're not stupid. He slid a folder across the table. Open it. Inside were documents, spy photos, financial records, all related to House Morrow. They've gotten into human law enforcement. Frost doesn't know it, but Agent Chen reports directly to Morrow's people. The wire you're wearing? It's not recording for the government. It's recording for my enemies. Sarah's hand automatically moved toward her back. That's crazy. Check the frequency. It's not FBI standard. He pulled out a small device, turned it on. A red light blinked steadily. That's your wire broadcasting on a private channel. By now, Morrow knows you're here, knows we're talking. The walls felt too close, the air too thin. They're going to come for you, Lucien said quietly. Not tonight, too public. But soon. They'll make it look like an accident, a robbery gone wrong, maybe a suicide given your PTSD history. Why are you helping me? Because you helped me without asking for anything in return. Because that gut feeling you have, the one that kept you alive in Kandahar, it's rare, valuable. He stood, buttoning his jacket. And because I'm tired of people serving me out of fear. I'd rather have one ally who chose to stand beside me than 1,000 who had no choice. He placed a business card on the table, heavy paper, gold lettering. You have 24 hours to decide. Work with Frost and Chen, knowing they're compromised. Work with me, knowing what I am. Or try to run, knowing Moro will find you anyway. He paused at the corner's edge. Whatever you choose, Sarah, choose honestly. I have enough liars in my life. Then he was gone, moving through the restaurant like a shadow. Sarah sat alone in the corner, surrounded by expensive wine she couldn't drink and truths she couldn't check. Her hand found the wire between her shoulders. She ripped it off and dropped it in the wine glass. The red light blinked once, then died. Outside, someone was watching. Someone was always watching. And Sarah Blake, former army medic, current restaurant waitress, had just become the most valuable piece on a board she didn't understand. She left cash on the table and walked into the night, where monsters of every kind were deciding her fate. Sarah made it home at 11:47 at night. She knew because she checked her phone every 30 seconds during the drive, half expecting a call from Frost or a text from Lucien or the sudden crash of a car running her off the road. None came. Just the quiet hum of late-night traffic and her own pounding pulse. Her apartment building looked the same as always, peeling paint. Flickering hallway lights, Mrs. Chen's cat watching from a third-floor window. Normal, safe. Lies felt comforting sometimes. She climbed the stairs to her second-floor unit, keys already in hand. Checking the door frame for signs of someone breaking in. Nothing. She unlocked the deadbolt, pushed inside, reached for the light switch. Don't. The voice came from her kitchen. Calm, familiar, wrong. Sarah's hand froze on the switch. Her other hand dropped to her boot, fingers closing around the knife handle. Get out of my apartment. In a moment. A match lit in the darkness. Lucien sat at her kitchen table, lighting a candle she didn't own. The flame painted shadows across his face, making him look even less human. We need to talk properly this time. You broke into my home. Your lock is garbage. A child could pick it. He pointed to the chair across from him. Sit, please. I'm fine standing. No, you're not. You've been running on adrenaline for 36 hours. Your hands are shaking. You haven't eaten since yesterday. And you're trying to decide if that knife in your boot would actually work on me. He tilted his head. It wouldn't. Silver does nothing to us. That's Hollywood nonsense. Sarah didn't move. How did you know about the knife? I can hear your heartbeat from across the room. I can smell the steel and leather oil. After 3 centuries, you learn to notice details. He leaned back. Sit down, Sarah. I promise you're safer with me here than alone. Against every feeling, she sat. Maybe because he was right about the exhaustion. Maybe because if he wanted her dead, she'd already be dead. Maybe because she was just so darn tired of being afraid. Why are you here? Because in about 4 hours, Commander Frost is going to call you. She's going to tell you the wire broke. She's going to apologize and ask you to wear a new one. Lucien's eyes caught the candlelight, reflecting it back like an animal's. She's going to send you back to Marlowe's restaurant tomorrow night where I'll supposedly meet you again. Except this time, they'll have the place surrounded, UV charges, silver bullets, a trap designed to capture me alive. How do you know this? Because I intercepted their communications 20 minutes ago. Because Agent Chen filed the plan at 10:15 tonight. Because House Moro is funding the entire operation through fake companies. He slid a folder across the table, more documents, more proof. Frost thinks she's running a real investigation. She doesn't know she's being used. Sarah opened the folder, bank transfers, emails, photos of Chen meeting with people she didn't recognize. It looked real, but then again, everything looked real until it wasn't. You could be lying. I could be. So could Frost. So could Chen. Everyone in your life could be lying except the one person telling you the truth. He smiled without humor. That's the problem with our world. Once you see behind the curtain, you can never be sure of anything again. Stop calling it our world. I'm not part of this. Yes, you are. His voice got harder. The moment you stepped in front of that bullet, you became part of this. House Moro has your face. They have your address. They know about Dale, about your therapy sessions, about the gun range you visit on Wednesdays. He leaned forward. They know you're a loose end. And Moro doesn't leave loose ends alive. The candle flickered. Somewhere in the building, pipes groaned. Normal sounds, safe sounds. What do you want from me? Sarah asked quietly. Honestly? I want to know why you did it. Lucien's mask of control cracked slightly. You didn't know what I was. You didn't know if I was a good man or a criminal or something worse. You just saw danger and stepped in front of it. Why? Sarah was quiet for a long moment. In Kandahar, I hesitated. My unit stopped. 4 people died because I second-guessed an order. She met his eyes. I've spent 3 years wondering if I saved myself through cowardice, if I let them die so I could live. And in the restaurant, I didn't hesitate. I just moved. She touched the table edge, grounding herself. Maybe I wanted to prove I wasn't a coward. Maybe I wanted to save someone for once instead of surviving while everyone else dies. A bitter laugh. Or maybe I just have a death wish and excellent reflexes. You're not a coward, Lucian said softly. Cowards don't step in front of bullets. They don't meet vampires alone. They don't sit in dark apartments with monsters and demand answers. He stood, moving to the window, looking out at the sleeping city. You have a survival instinct that fights with a need to sacrifice yourself. It's rare, dangerous, valuable. There's that word again, valuable. Because it's true. In my world, most people serve out of fear or greed. They can be controlled, predicted, thrown away. But someone who acts on pure instinct, someone who saves lives without calculating the cost, he turned back to her. That's priceless and terrifying. I'm not working for you. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking if you want to survive the next 48 hours. He moved back to the table, placing both hands flat on the surface. Tomorrow night, Frost will send you into that restaurant. If you go, you'll die. Mora's people will set off those UV charges early. Frost and her team will die too. Chen will spin it as a tragic operational failure, and I'll be blamed for all of it. Then I won't go. Then Frost will know you warned me. She'll arrest you as someone helping me. You'll disappear into a secret prison for questioning about supernatural threats. His voice was flat, factual. You'll never see trial, never see daylight. They'll drain every piece of information from you, then dump your body somewhere no one will find it. Sarah's stomach twisted. Those are my options, die in the restaurant or disappear into a secret prison. Those are your options if you try to hide or run. Lucian straightened. But there's a third option, you help me turn the trap around. You walk into that restaurant knowing it's a trap. You wear their wire. You play your part. But we strengthen the location first. We document Chen's involvement with Moro. And when they trigger the trap, we spring ours. His gray eyes held hers. We expose the conspiracy. Clear my name. Save Frost and her people from walking into a slaughter. And maybe keep you alive. You're asking me to trust you. I'm asking you to trust your gut feelings. The same feelings that saved your life in Kandahar. The same feelings that saw the laser before anyone else. He pulled out a phone, set it on the table. This is a secure line, encrypted, can't be traced. Take it. Think about what I've said. When Frost calls tomorrow morning, you'll have to decide, and if I choose her, then I'll respect your choice, and I'll mourn your death. He moved toward the door, pausing at the doorway. One more thing, the envelope you left with Dr. Rashid. Smart move. But Moro has people in the veterans system. If anything happens to you, that envelope disappears before the police ever see it. Sarah's blood went cold. How did you? Because I would do the same thing, because you're predictable in the best way. You plan for failure and hope for success. He opened the door. Get some sleep, Sarah. Tomorrow's going to be the longest day of your life, Lucian. She stood, the name feeling strange on her tongue. If I do this, if I help you, what happens after? He was quiet for a moment, outlined against the hallway light. After? If we survive? You get to decide who you want to be, human, ally, something in between. He glanced back. But first, we have to survive. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Sarah stood alone in her apartment, candlelight casting dancing shadows on the walls. The secure phone sat on her kitchen table like a loaded gun. Outside, the city slept. Inside, Sarah Blake made a choice that would either save her life or end it. She picked up the phone. 3 words appeared on the screen, welcome to the game. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. She texted back, tell me what to do. The reply came instantly, first, we teach you how to survive. Pack a bag. Someone will pick you up in 10 minutes. And Sarah, thank you for trusting me. She read the message twice. Then she started packing, because sometimes the only way to survive was to run toward the fire instead of away from it. And Sarah Blake had always been good at running toward things that could kill her,